What's up, PIA families? Coach Colin here. I'm a mindset coach, speaker, author, and in this series, Mindset Matters, we're making mental and emotional health normal. Now, last lesson was on teaching resilience. This topic that we're going to learn today is how to train confidence. So really, if you break down confidence, is your belief in your abilities to perform a certain task. So let's pause the video right now. Let's discuss as a group, where does confidence come from? What's the number one source of confidence, do you think? Well, based on research, we found that the number one source of confidence is self-talk. How do you speak to yourself? This was supported by research from Dr. Andrew Lane in the BBC lab in the UK. They looked at 44,000 people measuring what improves confidence and performance. And they found that self-talk was the number one source to influence confidence. So question, how do you speak to yourself? I want you to close your eyes and think about who is your best friend. Would you still be best friends with them if they spoke to you the same way that you speak to yourself? Unfortunately, not knowing this training for most of my life, I had a PhD in talking negative to myself. If I wasn't first, I was last. I'm a recovering perfectionist, and this fear of failure manifested into a slight stutter. My biggest fear in life for most of my childhood and as a young adult was public speaking. I remember my sophomore year in Mrs. Chips's speech class, I was horrified every single time I had to give a speech, and I barely got through that class. And going into my senior year, we had what is called a senior project. And in order to graduate, you had to give a presentation, a public speech in front of people in the community, other teachers and students. And I remember thinking to myself during that window of time in my life, I don't know if I'm going to graduate. I'm not a good public speaker. All I do is stutter, and I just can't fluently get the words out. And thank goodness I had some mentorship from Mrs. Chips, Tamara Chips, who was also my neighbor at the time. And she gave me some good coaching. She said, Colin, why don't you bring some props, or bring like your gym bag and pull out some props, and with your note cards, write down a word, she says, some affirmations. It's like, what's an affirmation? An affirmation is productive, positive self-talk that you can say to yourself to influence yourself to be the best version of you, to give yourself some encouragement. So I practiced, and I took out my note cards, and on every single note card on the top, I gave myself an affirmation. Like, I can do this. Just be yourself. Smile. I remember I wrote down, you're almost done. One more slide. You've done it. Way to go. So those affirmations influenced my mindset to give an amazing presentation, and thank goodness I graduated. So if you were to take an inventory of your inner life, what I call your thoughtmosphere, would you like what you see? Are you compassionate and kind to yourself, just like you are other people? If your sibling or a friend made a mistake, will you go to that friend and say, you're horrible, you suck, what's wrong with you? No, you wouldn't. So why would you say that to yourself? The most important conversation you have each day is with yourself. So part of this exercise, if you're taking notes today, maybe pause this recording in this video and maybe just write down what are some common negative thoughts that you say to yourself. Did you know that brain science tells us 80% of human thoughts are negative and 95% of thoughts are reoccurring? So the untrained mind, if you're not proactively training mental wellness, 4 out of 5 thoughts are negative. And this is what's called the thought cascade. Your thoughts influence your feelings, your emotions, your biochemistry, your internal state, and the actions that you take. I like to say negative thought equals negative movement. Quality thought equals quality movement. I want you to write down these 3 words. These 3 words changed my life. Thoughts become things. Hashtag TBT. Not Throwback Thursday. Thoughts become things. And I'll just end this introduction on the power of confidence and self-talk with this one simple parable. My mindset mentor taught me this about 10 years ago, and it was life-changing. He said, Colin, there is a grandfather going on a walk with a grandson one day, and the grandfather was giving wisdom to the grandson, and he said, grandson, there's a fight in my mind every day. They're on this beautiful walk near a creek in a forest. It was a crisp fall day, And he said, there's this negative wolf in my mind versus this positive wolf in my mind. And this negative wolf, this bad wolf, says things like, you're not good enough, you don't have what it takes. But this positive wolf is empathy, love, joy. It says things like, you got this, why not you? You're built for this, let's go. And the grandson looked up to the grandfather and says, well, grandfather, who wins? And with kindness and love in his heart, the grandfather looked down and said, well, grandson, the one that wins is the one that you feed. So what wolf have you been feeding with your own self-talk? So let's learn from some thought leaders in the Puyallup district on how we can really train our mind.
So even though for me, doing some type of mindfulness activity with my students every day, whether it's a belly breath, whether it's taking time to just reflect, that idea of learning how to respond to a situation rather than react. All right, so many times as parents, as teachers, as staff, and as learners, as students, or even adult learners, digging a little bit deeper and trying to get to that idea of that we're going to figure out how to respond rather than just react to every single situation. And I think that's where mindfulness as a tool comes in, and it's so, so helpful.
Now, maybe help us understand the word mindfulness in your own words.
So I think one of the easiest to access is that mindfulness is being present right here, right now. So it doesn't matter if it's an uncomfortable feeling. It doesn't matter if it's a situation that I don't necessarily want to be in, that I'm with the situation now.
Ted, you used the word self-care, and I was joking. I didn't know what that word existed when I was a young adult and I was a kid. So maybe talk about that word, self-care.
Self-care basically is, well, I kind of look at it as improving your life and making sure that you're staying healthy and doing things to take care of yourself, and from taking care of your diet to taking care of exercise to taking care of your mindset to having a more positive outlook to dealing with anxiety and adversity in a healthier fashion rather than letting it get the best of you. So that's an overall view of how I see healthcare or self-care. That and getting done what you need to get done. That's kind of a trite statement, but there are things that we have to complete and set ourselves up for success later. And that's what I see self-care as, is just making sure that you can continue with your life and be happy and healthy, regardless of the circumstances.
All right, welcome back to Mindset Matters training, and let's do a quick activity. I'm gonna show an image on the screen. I want you to take a look. What images do you see on this screen? This is from a Jeep ad several years ago. What animals do you see? Now, if you look closely, that's an image of a deer and a seal. But what's interesting is it's the exact same image, it's just flipped upside down. So when you talk about mindset matters and mental training and resilience and confidence, it all comes down to perspective and focus. What do you choose to focus on? How is your perspective? Do you focus on the bad things or negative things happening, or do you train your mind to focus on optimism and to do what I call hunt the good stuff? Let's do a quick exercise. I want you to pause what you're doing and look around your room. How many blue things can you find right now? I'm going to give you 5 seconds looking for blue. Ready, set, go. All right, stop. The question is, though, is how many green things did you see? What? You're thinking, Coach Colin, you said look for blue. That's right. You didn't see the green because you were looking for blue. That's an example of, are you looking for being a victim or looking for negativity or looking to make excuses? Let's condition our mind to be resilient and confident to hunt the good stuff and look for the good. Is the glass half empty or half full? Now, I'm going to give you 3 tools, 3 strategies to train that optimistic, confident lens and to make mindset matter. So the first mental tool I'm going to teach you, I want you to apply, is this concept. I want you to write this down. Anchor statements. Remember I told you that self-talk is the #1 source of confidence? Let's develop your self-talk plan and write down anchor statements. Think about a boat in the water. When there's wind, when there's waves, If that boat is not anchored, it's going to drift off far into the sea. And that's where sometimes our self-doubt, our negative self-talk is going to drift us away from being present, from being grounded. So these anchor statements that you memorize are going to ground your focus, ground your attention, and to be in the present moment and to be more confident. My anchor statements are this. I say, I am authentic, I am present, I am courageous. When you say these anchor statements, it blocks out negativity. This is what psychologists call thought replacement. We only focus on one thought at a time, and it anchors my performance, and we become what we think about most of the time. Up to 97% of our actions are controlled by our subconscious mind. And according to James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, he says your identity is the #1 driver of performance. So choose how you want to anchor yourself in that moment. Choose how you want to show up and write it in a sentence. I am empathetic. I am courageous. I have high energy. Or I am. Just decide who you want to be and memorize these statements and show up that way. If you watch Super Bowl winning quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks, Russell Wilson, who also has a mental coach named Trevor Moawad, he has what they call his advertising campaign. If you see him mic'd up before games, this is what it sounds like. He says, I am here, I'm built for this, believe, stay neutral, I am here, why not me, believe. He's influencing himself to be who he wants to be. So do you talk yourself out of performance and you focus on what you don't have and who you aren't? Or do you train your mind to be anchored in who you are and who you want to be? And why is this important? Here's why. Because what you say to yourself has 10 times the power versus what other people say to you. So let's go. Take out a piece of paper and write down 3 to 5 I am or anchor statements and memorize those affirmations and say those on repeat to build that confidence. Now, the second thing I want you to think about, give you a roadmap and a toolkit to elevate confidence, is inspired by Dr. Albert Bandura, a psychologist out of Stanford. His research is centered around what he calls self-efficacy. And that's a fancy word for saying confidence or your belief in your abilities to perform a certain task or craft. I'm going to give you 5 ways you can elevate your self-efficacy through action and have confidence. So I want you to decide what's one element of your life you want to improve your confidence. It could be public speaking, it could be baking, it could be playing an instrument. Let's pick one area and use this model from Bandura to elevate confidence. So the first one he found is to do the activity, or as I call it, get your reps in. How can you become what you don't practice? So remember to get those reps in and do it often. And the second one is what he calls verbal persuasion, being in an encouraging, positive environment. So in a group environment, how can you be more positive and notice and catch people doing it right? Number 3 is observing other people. He calls this vicarious experiences. So watching people who have the skill that you want. Study how they do what they do and model those behaviors. Number 4 is how you interpret and view nerves. Just know this, nerves are normal. Nerves are a signal that you're excited. If you interpret those nerves as, ooh, I might screw up or I might fail, that's going to activate what's called fight, flight, freeze, hide, and you'll underperform. View those nerves as energy and excitement. The last one is to visualize success. Watch this. Everything happens twice. First in our mind, then in real life. So close your eyes and daydream and see yourself performing how you want to perform. When you do that, that creates neural pathways and mental grooves. It really commands your subconscious. When you're in that moment, your brain says, oh, I've seen this before, and you will perform at a higher level. So use this Bandura's model. Get your reps in. Be around positive people. Watch others who do what you want to do. Interpret nerves as a signal, as excitement, not just fear, and visualize success. Now, the last mental drill I want you to challenge yourself to do to build confidence is this. Do something difficult every day. So think about, how do you trust other people? For me, it's simple. They do what they say they're going to do. Well, do you do what you say you're going to do? Let's do difficult things. Let's challenge ourselves to get comfortable being uncomfortable, because confidence isn't, I know I'll have success. Confidence is, I'm confident I can figure it out. I can find a way to be resourceful. And the greatest resource is resourcefulness. So challenge yourself every day to do something that makes you a little scared. If you keep doing this, you're gonna build resilience and confidence that you can adapt, overcome, and figure it out. So at the end of each day, ask yourself one question. What's one challenging thing that I did today? If you can start checking these off, you're gonna elevate your self-image, your self-confidence, you're gonna get your reps in and build that confidence. I care about you. You got this. Let's do it together. Let's build that confidence plan because mindset matters. Let's be proactive with our mental emotional wellness, and always remember this. The body has limits, but the mind is limitless. Let's build that tough mindset. You guys got this. Let's go.